With every dollar we get in our hands, we have the power to choose our future, to be rich, poor, or middle class. That is a direct quote from this one book that honestly changed my life when it comes to personal finance, being rich, or being wealthy. Hey rich friends, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you what the rich know about money that you don't. You most likely grew up hearing that the way to build wealth is to get good grades, land a stable job, and save everything you can, and hopefully one day you will retire rich. But what if I told you that that formula just does not work if your goal is to build wealth? If your goal is to just retire with $1 million, maybe that formula may work for you. But if your goal is to build wealth that lasts irrespective of the economy, irrespective of a recession, wealth that you can transfer to your children, then that formula would not work for you. And everything you know about money is probably wrong, especially if you are like me and you grew up either low or middle class. But here's the truth. Wealth building is not about your income. Actually, it's about how you think. It's not about what you currently make right now or where you went to school. It's all about how you think. And Rich Dad Poor Dad, this book, cracked that code for me when I read it at a very young age of 7 years old. It was the very first time that I learned that the rich follow a completely different set of rules. But the good news is those rules can be learned. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 4 powerful mindset shifts that I learned from this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. The exact differences in how the rich versus the poor think about the everyday things that we all face. So that no matter where you're starting from, whether you grew up poor, low, or middle class, you can set yourself up to build real lasting wealth. You want to stick to the end because at the end, I have a bonus lesson. And this bonus lesson is truly the key if you want financial freedom sooner than retirement. If you are new here, welcome. I am a CFA Charter holder and a former investment banker who spent over 7 years advising millionaires and billionaires on how to make, grow, and keep their money. And on this channel, I love to share actionable advice for you to grow rich and build wealth. And if those sounds like your life goal, then definitely consider subscribing to the channel. Now, let's get into it. Before I tell you about the mindset shift, let me tell you about this book. If you've never heard about this book is actually some type of a legend in the personal finance literature world. It was written by this person, Robert Kiyosaki, and the book introduces a concept of 2 types of dad. Robert's dad was highly successful in his career. It was a professor. He had enough. They were comfortable because they lived in the same community that the rich dad lived in. The rich dad was not as educated as Robert's dad, but the rich dad ran multiple businesses. At the time when Robert was growing up in the community, the rich dad himself did not look rich, didn't look very successful, even though he was running multiple businesses. Whereas Robert's dad, they had a house, they had a car, they had very basic middle class things. But Robert had a desire to make money, and he was very curious about how do you make money. His rich dad gave him a set of answers, which is probably what all our parents, schools, the society tells us about making money. It is put your head down, get a good grade, get a good job, and save. Live below your means and save all you can. But the rich dad told him something completely different, about how to make money. And Robert made the very smart decision to choose his rich dad's advice. And that set him on a path of wealth creation and financial freedom. I read this book at a very, very young age. I read it first at the age of 7. When I read it, honestly, a lot of the things did not make sense to me. I think what I was curious about was just the rich dad and the poor dad concept. But this book introduced me to the concept of assets and liabilities. Fast forward to many years after, I graduated university with a degree in chemistry, but I remembered this book, so I picked it up again, and it made so much sense. And I realized that, the path to building wealth is not just to put your head down, and get a good job. There are other sets of rules that the rich follow, that the wealthy follow. Their kids also go to school. Their kids also, get a degree. But from a very young age, their kids are taught a different way to think about money, to think about making money. The opportunities that are open to children that are born rich are very different. And that's why if you take a child that was born with like a wealthy parent and a child that was born in a low middle class environment, the way they think about money, about possessions, about investing, about real estate is completely different. But great thing is these rules are very well documented and they can be learned. The first rule is that financial education is the best education you can get. Yes. If you grew up lower middle class like myself, your parents probably favored you having degrees in medicine, law, accounting, professions, because these are safe jobs. They are always required irrespective of what's happening in the economy. And that degree is the most important thing. But the rich know that financial education, knowing about assets, learning about liabilities, learning about how to make money, how to sell, that is the best education you can get. Money is such an important part of our lives. And it's so unfortunate that we go through many years of schooling and there's no class on just like personal finance or how to handle money. And what that leads to for many of us is that we go through our lives just struggling with this fundamental part of our lives. This book has so many quotes that are mind-blowing. So throughout this video, I'm going to just read out some of these quotes for you to ponder and think about. One of them is, intelligence solves problem and produces money. Money without financial intelligence is quickly gone. So what that means is you go to school, you become very smart. You are a doctor, you are a lawyer, you are very smart. What happens is because of your intelligence, you create value and you make money. But if you lack financial intelligence, the money you made is quickly gone. The rich are rich because they are more literate in different areas than people who struggle financially. So if you want to be rich and maintain your wealth, it is important to be financially literate in words as well as numbers. How does Robert Kiyosaki define financial intelligence? Because financial intelligence cannot be measured by your IQ, by your GMAT score, by your CGPA. You can only see the fruits of your financial intelligence based on how you relate with money. Robert Kiyosaki defines financial intelligence as simply having more options. The ability to create options for yourself using money is the definition of financial intelligence. A direct quote from the book says, "It is not so much what happens, but how many different financial solutions you can think of to turn a lemon into millions. It is how creative you are in solving financial problems." Most people only know one solution to solving their financial problems, and that is work hard and save or borrow, live on credit cards. But the financially intelligent person thinks of creative ways to solve their problems. In this book, the very first few chapters of this book, Robert as a kid wanted to make money. And the rich dad did not tell him how to make money. He had to think creatively. His first solution was actually printing money. And then when that failed, he learned how to rent out comic books and earn money from that. A financially intelligent person does not only see one option, which is what we all do. Work hard, get a good job and save. A financially intelligent person thinks of creative ways. What can I sell? What can I create? Who can I partner with? And the truth is that the same way you can create luck, you can also create money. So how do you get financial intelligence? Number one, learn the basics between assets and liabilities. Like learn the basics of just finance in general. What are assets? What are liabilities? What are different types of assets? This gives you, just understanding about how money works. What is your net worth? Like become conversant with the key numbers that determine wealth. And I have a video about the 6 numbers you must know if you are serious about building wealth. I'm going to link it up here for you to go and watch. The second thing you must learn to be financially independent is to learn how to manage the money you already have. So this involves learning how to budget, how to set financial goals, learning how to pick a stock, how to invest. That is also a form of financial intelligence. And the third thing you must know to be financially intelligent is you must know how to spot investment opportunities. The difference between the rich and the poor is that the rich create investable assets, whereas the poor or the middle class simply just give their money and invest. A good example is this: the rich create Tesla, they create Google, they create, stocks, and then they create these companies that have very, profitable stocks, and then the lower and middle class people simply just invest in the stock. There's a difference. The rich know how to spot an investment opportunity. A rich person is driving down, their street. They see broken down laundromats, they are immediately looking at cash. They are seeing opportunities. When they are watching the news, when they are walking, when they are on vacation, and they're looking around, they are looking for cash opportunities. Where can I invest? What can I turn around? What idea can I steal from Asia and bring to the United States to get money? If they're on vacation anywhere, they're thinking about, okay, what's working well here? What can I steal and bring here? That skill is what differentiates the rich, the wealthy from just like average, low, middle class. Now, the great thing is that this channel is all about increasing financial intelligence. It's all about teaching you the differences between asset liabilities, teaching you how to manage your money, and teaching you how to spot investment opportunities. So if you've not subscribed yet, this is your moment. The second thing that the rich know about money that you do not know is they know that for you to be wealthy, you have to buy assets, not liabilities. Buy assets, not liabilities. First of all, to be able to do this, you need to know the difference between an asset and a liability. And in this book, that Robert Kiyosaki has defined an asset as anything that puts money in your pocket, and a liability as anything that takes money out of your pocket. And he's saying that the difference between the rich person and just like the middle class or low person is the rich person knows that your balance sheet is the key to you building wealth, whereas low and middle class person only thinks about their income statement. If you're not familiar with this term, let me break it down for you. The balance sheet is a financial statement that shows the balance between your assets and your liabilities, aka your net worth. Whereas your income statement only shows your income and your expenses. The average person on the street only knows their income. They know I earn 5K a month, I earn 10K a month. Okay, great. How many assets do you have? What are you worth? What are your assets worth? They don't know this. The lower middle class person knows their income. They also know their liabilities, right? They have student loans, they have credit cards, they have mortgages. They're not focusing on their assets. Even when they think about their assets, they're not thinking about their net worth. They're only thinking about, how can I increase my income? How can I get a promotion and increase my income? But they're not thinking about your balance sheet. And so what happens for most people is you increase your income, and you also increase your expenses, and maybe you also increase your liability. And that's the difference between how the wealthy think about money versus how the rich think about money. Wealth is built by accumulating assets. And I think this is very important because there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich is like, you're comfortable, you have a house, you have a car, you have savings for retirement, you are rich, you're okay. When you're wealthy, wealth basically means you don't have to think about the price of things. You are financially free. If you don't work again for the rest of your life, your income will continue to increase. Your wealth will continue to grow. Most rich people do not really have wealth that grows, or it grows at a slow pace because it's not controlled by them. It's controlled by a Roth IRA, like an index fund or something. But a wealthy person has assets that make them money. That's the difference between wealthy and rich. And I say it all the time on this channel that you may look like a wealthy person. You may have the same iPhone that Richard Branson has or Mark Zuckerberg has. You may even drive on the same road. You may have the same car. You may both have BMWs, for example. The difference between both of you is that the wealthy person has options. If their BMW breaks down today, they can get into their Range Rover or get into their Porsche or like take a private jet. If your BMW breaks down, maybe you get a loan out from the car company or you stay at home. You have to repair your BMW because that's the only car you have. Or maybe you have a BMW and a Tesla. But like the difference is the options that you have. So if you want to build wealth, not only get rich, if you want to build wealth, you need to focus on building assets. As you get income, as your salary increases, you want to take your income and transfer it to your balance sheet. So you want to use income to create assets, and then you want to spend money from the income generated from your assets, not the income that you generate by selling your time, blood and sweat. Again, how do we think about money? The lower middle class person thinks about their house as an asset, but the house does not give you money except you're leasing it out to people and you're getting income from it. Your house is actually not a true asset in the sense that it takes money from your pocket. Your car is not an asset. It may have value, but it doesn't bring money into your account. Therefore, according to Rich Dad Poor Dad definition, it is not an asset. So I know it's a very restrictive way of thinking about assets, but if you force yourself to think along those lines, you'll see yourself on a sure path to building wealth. And on this diagram you can see on the screen, the rich person's balance sheet and income statement looks like this. As their income increases, their asset increases. They're trying to get their expenses down and they're trying to get their liabilities down. So when the rich get richer, the asset column generates more income because they use their income to fund assets. Whereas the poor and middle class struggle, and you can see it in this diagram here, because as their income increases, their expenses increase to match. They don't really think about their assets, and they also increase their liability. So they get a mortgage, they buy a nicer, flashier car, they get a second and a third degree, and get student loans while doing it. So this is the difference if you compare the income statement and the balance sheet of a rich person and a low middle class person. Let's make it practical because that's what we like to do on this channel. How can you use this lesson for yourself? Number one, learn the difference between an asset and a liability. And I already spoke about that here, so check. Second thing is for you to begin to find or identify income producing asset. You will know you are financially free when the income from your assets is enough to cover your living expenses. That is when you've achieved financial freedom. So you want to begin to think about income producing assets. Real estate is one of them. Content creation is one of them. Having a business is another type of income creating asset. You want to identify it and begin to spot those opportunities now. And then use whatever income you are currently generating from your job or something else to develop income producing assets. And eventually train yourself to only spend money that has come out of your assets. And he gave an example in that book. He's like, if he wants a new car, he's not really worried about it. All he knows is he needs to find an asset that will generate him the money to buy the car. He only spends money that comes out of an asset. That is a very disciplined way of thinking about it. And if you know that you will only spend money that comes from an asset, you are forced to think critically about the assets you want to create. Now that we've established that building assets is the only true way to build wealth, the question then comes, how do you accelerate building the wealth column of your balance sheet? And that's where the next point in this video comes in. And the truth is that whether you are born rich or born poor or born middle class, everybody has the ability to increase their assets. Number 3 lesson is don't work for money, let money work for you. Very simple. The default thinking from school is learn a skill, get a job, and work for money. So, you work 8 hours a day, you get paid, you work weekends, you work extra time, extra shift to make more money. We are socialized to learn that the harder you work, the more money you make. To make more money, you need to work hard. That is the general knowledge about making money. And that's what Robert Kiyosaki's rich dad taught him. But his poor dad taught him a different lesson by refusing to pay him. Robert Kiyosaki was working for his rich dad, but his rich dad refused to pay him. And that forced Robert to think about a way to use the money he already had to work for him. If you're watching this video, you're most likely an employee. I'm an employee myself. I have a regular 9-to-5 job. I work for money right now. But the key is for you to begin to think about how to use the income you're getting from your job to create income producing assets. Not just assets, but income producing assets. This is a quote from the book. It says, if I want to increase my expenses, I first must increase my cash flow to maintain this level of wealth. The more money that goes into my asset column, the more my assets column grows. The more my assets grow, the more my cash flow grows. And as long as I keep my expenses less than the cash flow from these assets, I grow richer and richer with more and more income from sources other than my physical labor. It throws out another idea that money is not real. Money can be created. And it's like the more you realize that money can be created, the more you will find creative solutions to making money. Now, you'll be thinking, okay, how does that apply to me? I'm a 9-to-5 employee. I want to take these lessons and apply them to my life. What is the thing I should be doing? And that's where number 5 lesson comes in. And the lesson is titled, Mind Your Business. Mind your business. And it says, treat yourself like a business, not like a person. I'm a business, right? Whatever your name, John LLC. If you are a business, the first thing businesses do is that businesses, first of all, they have financial statements, they have balance sheets, and they have income statements. That's one. Businesses think about the assets, what are we selling, and how are we creating an income. And I really like this point because it is the same as what I've always spoken about on this channel, which is you are your most important asset. You are the first asset on your balance sheet, and you must commit to ruthlessly building your asset up. And this whole mind your business point is that you are your own responsibility. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to make you rich. It is your job to mind your business of building wealth. If you treat building wealth as a business, as a goal, I need to, build wealth, I need to be financially free, then you mind it as you are staying in jobs. You are not forgetting that your goal is your business. So for example, I've met people who are in a job for a decade, same position, no promotion, no opportunities to grow, but they are loyal to the company. But the point is, why? This company can lay off that person at a moment's notice. And by staying in one position for 10 years, you've not learned any new skill, you've not increased your income, you've not exposed yourself to whatever is happening in the industry around you. That is not the way to mind your business. You need to become the CEO of your life. And the CEO of every company cares about one thing, the balance sheet. The CEO cares about what assets do we have? How much money do we have in the bank? How much money do we have in assets? What is our equity? To be the CEO of your life, to mind your business, you need to build your asset column strong. One quote from the book that I really love, it says, once $1 goes into your asset column, never let it come out. Think of it this way. Once $1 goes into your asset column, it becomes your employee. The best thing about money is that it works 24 hours a day and it can work for generations. Keep your day job. Be a great hardworking employee, but keep building that asset column. So this is your goal now. This is your new purpose in your job. Your new purpose in whatever job that you have is to build your asset column. And when money enters into your asset column, once you save money or you invest that money should not go out. That money is your employee. You can have 10,000 employees. You can have 100,000 employees. You can have 1 million employees based on how much money you are taking from your day job and you are investing it. And the good thing about money is it works every single time. Practically, how can you do this? First of all, get brutally honest. Know your net worth. I have a video on here about how to calculate your net worth. Figure out what your assets are, what your liabilities are, and what your net worth is. Your net worth could be negative if you have student loans, which is fine, but you need to be aware of your net worth. Then set financial goals. Again, I have a video about this already on the channel about financial goals you must have before the age of 40. Once you have those two, make decisions, automate your savings, and regularly review your progress towards this goal. Now, on to the bonus lesson that I promised. The bonus lesson is how the rich and the wealthy define wealth. And this is a very simple definition. It says that wealth is a person's ability to survive so many days forward. If you ask yourself this question today, if I stop working today, how many days can I survive? How many days can I live at my current level of, my current lifestyle without being broke or without having to call for help? That shows how wealthy you are. The average wealthy person can live lifetimes. They can live the end of their life. Their children can live the end of their life. Their grandchildren can live the end of their life. The average rich person only has money that will, help them till maybe they're 60 or they're 70. So that's how you define wealth. When you keep this mentality, right, in your mind, it encourages you, it pushes you forward on your wealth building journey. I'm very passionate to build wealth. I want to be financially free. I don't want to have to look at labels before I buy things. I want to have money that will last my lifetime, my children's lifetime, my generation's lifetime. That's the kind of wealth that I'm trying to build. And these lessons, especially the one about the asset column, are very, very life-changing if you apply them. Now, if you're thinking about, okay, I've learned these lessons. What can I do immediately? Watch my video about the 6 accounts you must have if you want to build wealth. Start there. Thank you for watching my video. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay rich and build wealth. Bye.